All right, everybody, welcome back to episode 9. Even though Ian doesn't want to number our podcast anymore, I still do, so this is number 9. This is the Surfside Recovery Podcast. My name is Brian Licata. Here is the head honcho, main squeeze cheese, Ian Koch. He is our executive director. And today we're going to talk about maybe a couple different things. We were thinking about transitioning into more of a freeform podcast.
Correct, but we do want to answer Sabone's question about sponsorship.
Yes. What are your thoughts on sponsorship, Mr. Koch?
Rumor has it, and I don't quote me on how true it is, but rumor has it original CADC counselors were cherry-picked out of 12-step recovery and given a credential and some counseling training, and they became the first certified alcohol and drug counselors. They were like good sponsors that they then gave some clinical training to. So it's kind of neat. I think ultimately each 12-step fellowship has a pamphlet that explains sponsorship, what it is, what it is not. I think sponsorship can be very different for different people. I wish I knew, Sabone, what your question was specifically.
I think it was regarding good sponsorship.
I wrote a really good blog about good sponsorship.
See if I can pull it up.
I'd pull it up on my phone, but I've been getting harassed about using my phone too much during the podcast. So
just a little more engagement, I think, is what the crowd wants.
Well, I am engaged. I'm multitasking.
You're engaged in a bunch
engaged
of
with a lot
things.
of things.
Yeah.
I've got parents calling and texting. I've got staff calling and texting. Emails.
Yeah, I think, sponsorship for me now, in the beginning, I wanted somebody who could spend a lot of time with me, could answer a lot of phone calls.
You needed that. You were pretty sick.
I was very sick. I was extremely, extremely sick. You're right. I was thinking about that.
I'm very arrogant. Your arrogance has drastically diminished.
You think so?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You really thought you were God's gift to recovery when you got sober. It was interesting.
I just thought it was God's gift to mankind, which still isn't far off from the truth. I'm a little egotistical, but in a jokingly manner. I think it's part of my personality.
Well, there's one thing to be confident, but you were also the only person who AMA'd out of a treatment center to come to Surfside because, do you remember that whole thing? Because we were going to North Carolina.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't give you a treatment. I'd rather not use the treatment center's name.
That's fine.
But they wouldn't give they wouldn't give you a treatment complete because you wanted to leave one day early to go on this trip to North Carolina.
And the thing was, I aged out of my insurance at the end of the month.
Yeah.
So I moved into Surfside on April 27th, 2017. So there are 30 days, I believe, in April. So I had 3 more days left on my insurance, and I got
2 days away from your anniversary.
2 days away from
your Surfside anniversary.
2 days? No.
You said April 20th.
27th.
Oh, 27th.
Yeah, April 27th. Yeah, so 2 years from my Surfside birthday. Are we doing a party, cake, cookies, something like that? Nothing like that. We just had some pizzas, so I guess we'll count that.
Nothing.
Yeah, but they gave me I think it was an ACA, against clinical advice.
Same difference.
Same thing, right?
Same thing.
And I was like, they were telling me that. They're like, yeah, we're not going to get, and I didn't have any court issues or anything going on, so I didn't really care. I was like, whatever, don't complete me. I'm like, I could give a rat's
I'm going
ass
to a long-term program, whatever.
Yeah. It didn't make any sense to me at the time as to why I couldn't.
You also, I will say, you heard about us and you called on your own free time.
You remember that?
I often said that you were one of the most enthusiastic people to ever come to Surfside.
I was trying to get sober. I was really, really tired of getting high when I came in.
You weren't waiting for case management. You were not waiting for your counselors. You were ready to make it happen.
I had the fire under my ass because, those case managers have a tough job with how many people that they have to account for who are all leaving at different periods of time. I wouldn't want that job at all like that when you have
trauma. Sorry. We were going to talk about
the use of the word trauma.
Well, not the use of the word, but trauma tracks in treatment.
Okay, trauma.
Sorry, everybody.
I don't even know what that means, but okay. So we'll get on to the trauma
we'll get
tracks. There. What was I saying? So yeah. So the case managers have like so many people, and they're always getting pulled in like 7 different directions.
FMLA paperwork.
Yeah, a bunch of shit.
Discharge
I would never want
paperwork, AMA stuff. I need my license. I need my this. I need my that. Yeah.
Yeah. So when I was in there, I had been in a bunch of prior treatments before that, so I kind of knew how the system worked, and I was like, I'm not like waiting around, and no one, at least I remember, no one really wanting to talk to me on the phone while I was in there. So I got your number from somebody else. We actually met
a couple years or
prior,
a year maybe
a
before.
year prior when I was in another treatment center around here too, and we met. I kind of thought you were an asshole.
Standard.
Still do.
I mean, that's like a like that's a, you know, if you're not trying to get clean, you're there's like literally people. So I do, for those of you who don't know, I do a group at a local place, and I've been doing it. God, I've been doing it for 3 years, once a week. Every once in a while, I don't do it, and my staff will fill in. But there's people legitimately, like chronic relapsers, will go back to that facility over and over, and they know like I'm doing group, and they will literally not go to group because they don't want to hear what I have to say. I think that's absolutely amusing. Yeah,
it is kind of funny. I remember sitting in one of the rooms listening to your groups, and I was like, man, this guy's a dick. but I knew,
because I don't let, like, if somebody's in treatment, they're not, and maybe this is my arrogance, fine, but they're not going to tell me how to stay sober. If you're sitting in rehab and you've been in rehab multiple times and you're back, you should probably listen.
Right. Yeah, my mindset was, when I was in there, I was like, I don't really like this guy, but I remember consciously thinking like, all right, I think they got something good going on. You know what I mean? And the truth of the matter was, I wasn't really ready to get sober yet. Sure. So that's why I was like, yeah. But something kind of got burned in my mind where I was like, okay, this is a good thing. And then when I was in the other treatment center that I got the ACA from, a couple of my friends in there were coming as well. So that's what I was like, let me give
and
this
one
guy a call.
Just celebrated 2 years sober.
Yeah. He actually came. He
went home.
Yeah,
he wasn't.
Yeah,
they sent him home, and he went home to North Jersey, and he went to see his therapist because that was his great plan.
Right.
And his therapist is like, "What are you doing?" And he was like, "Oh, well, I'm 22 and I've been in multiple treatment centers and I can't stay sober." Or 20. I think he was 20.
He was 20. Yeah, he was 20.
And his therapist is like, "Oh, you're going to a program."
Right.
And that's how he connected him with us. And I think we were in North Carolina.
We were coming back, and he drove down and met us at the house the same
day because I remember he wanted to come, but that we basically shut the house down because all the guys and staff were in North Carolina.
Yeah, and something was,
so we couldn't do the admission.
When he was in the treatment center too, he I don't know.
There was a girlfriend involved.
Shocking.
Shocker, right?
There's always a girl.
I got to get home to see my girlfriend. She hates me, but I still got to go see her. So back to sponsorship.
Yeah, we got far off track. Back to sponsorship.
Did you find that article?
Oh, I stopped looking for it. What I was saying though about sponsorship before, I needed a lot in the beginning, and now I talk to my sponsor a couple times a week. We meet up. We try to meet up once a week. He's pretty busy, as am I. But when we sit down, it's funny. We'll like go over stuff that I have written down.
He's getting jacked.
What?
Your sponsor.
What do you mean getting jacked?
He's getting jacked.
Oh, he's jacked. Yeah, he's huge.
Because he goes to CrossFit. It's a plug for CrossFit. Me and his sponsor go to the same gym.
Yeah, he's there at like 5 a.m.
Yeah, he's the morning crew. I'm usually there at 5:30 at night. I'm turning my phone on so I can find this article.
Oh no, I'm looking right now.
Oh, you got it?
Yeah, I'm looking right now.
So I think the article I wrote was, how do you know if you have a bad sponsor?
Well, no, I'm still looking for it. We got to change the format of these blogs on here. They're really hard to. Oh yeah, sober living guide. They're hard to find. New to sober living, wondering if you have a bad sponsor? Many folks walk into new sober living homes each day across the country. Yada yada yada.
I think there's like 10 things.
Determine if you have a bad sponsor. So what the sponsorship looks like to me now is like we just like talk through stuff, and my sponsor is really good about not like telling me what I should or shouldn't do. Like I remember this one thing I was asking him, like, yeah, like how do you think this is gonna work out? And he's like, well, could be good or it could be bad. I was like, well, no shit. I knew that before. Like, I got over here.
Thanks.
But through talking about stuff, like I kind of come to my own conclusions, and I really appreciate the fact that he can sit there and listen to me. We can have like a dialogue, and then I eventually he kind of helps guide me to the appropriate answer. And the truth of the matter is, like, you know, he doesn't really know what's good for me or bad for me, but I mean, some stuff is pretty cut and dry. But
I sponsor someone who yesterday I told them I was very proud of them. I think they made their first like real, like hard adult sober decision.
Mm-hmm.
And they called and they're like, hey, I did this thing and I wasn't quite honest. But it's like maybe not going to hurt me or anybody else. Does it really matter?
Mm-hmm.
And we went back and forth a little bit. And like there was no answer, but I was like, oh, it sounds like you know exactly what you need to do.
Right.
Which is like what he needed to hear. And he also needed to hear that like if he made the right decision, which wasn't going to give him the immediate gratification, that in fact he would probably benefit as a man in the long run for doing the right thing and the honest thing, you know.
And he made the decision on his own, kind of.
I mean, he knew, yeah.
He knew what he was supposed to do.
He knew.
Yeah, I feel like that's a big part of recovery. I was at a meeting last night, and I was kind of thinking that when people were sharing it. It's like, it's all about, like, I mean, you're probably most likely going to inherently know on some level of what the right thing is to do, and it's a matter of just doing it or not.
Sure.
Like, I say I have trouble, I like to sleep in, or I'm a heavy sleeper, I have trouble waking up early. But the truth of the matter is when the alarm clock goes off, I hit snooze and don't get up. But if there's something I have to get up for, the clock goes off once and I get up. So it's really just like...
Omane bed meom.
Huh?
Omane bed meom.
Yeah. What is that? Latin?
No, it's, I want to say Tibetan. It's a Buddhist saying, Omane bed meom. It means the mind is in the lotus. And in Buddhist philosophy, what they believe is that your heart is the lotus. So like the lotus flower.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where your mind is. And your mind tells you like right from wrong, good from evil. That's the right thing to do. That's the wrong thing to do. Your brain tells you things like my chest itches, my shoulder itches, I'm hungry, I'm thirsty, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So a lot of people will say when they walk into treatment, like, I know what's right from wrong, but sometimes I can't do it.
Right.
Right. So good sponsorship in a perfect world is somebody, in my belief, like if I had to give like a very, 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 very brief description, it would be somebody who is spiritually grounded, somebody who's going to first and foremost guide you through the 12 steps at a decent pace. And who isn't going to co-sign your crap.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because a lot of it, like, you know, like when this guy called me yesterday, like I could have been like, oh yeah, no, don't worry about it. But like,
you'll be okay.
But he's not, right? He was about to make a decision that could a decision that would have been a lie.
Right.
That would have then set him on track for potentially the rest of his life.
Yeah.
Right?
You don't want something like that.
Based on a lie.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I think that's BS.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I told him, I think that's a bad fucking decision. You know what I mean? And which is why there's like so many people, like when you look at, to wrap it in, I was talking about something very similar with a guy after a meeting last night.
Right.
Somebody who, you know, they want to get into addiction treatment marketing because they believe they can make like a lot of money. And he's like, oh, I'll just have a Facebook group and like help parents and get their kids into treatment. And I was like, you understand that's called patient brokering. Like, because the way that works is you have a Facebook family group. Mm-hmm. So if you're a family member, you should be paying attention to this. Most of the Facebook family groups are operated by treatment centers or people who then funnel people to treatment centers.
Right. Okay.
And they get paid per head, which is then considered patient brokering, right? And so I like explained this to him, and he's like, "Oh, I didn't know that's how it was." I was like, well, "Yeah, no kidding," because you're like 3 years sober, and you've never worked in the addiction treatment field, and you've never had an ethics position or whatever, right? So we've got all these people running around, doing things they just shouldn't be doing, and nobody knows the difference,
right?
Like a good sponsor is going to be like, dude. Like sometimes the easier, softer way isn't necessarily easier and softer.
Yeah, and you rarely ever get any sort of sense of satisfaction out of something that was done easily.
Like I don't, right? Like Liberation Way was in the newspaper.
Right.
Treatment center out of Pennsylvania, partial care with housing. They had a couple locations. You could look it up. Liberation Way, scam, drug testing. I don't know. It'll pop.
What was that? That was out in like Levittown or Lower Bucks County, I think.
Yeah, I think Lower Bucks. There was a couple spots, but like one of the guys, Dallas, overdosed and died a couple years ago. Who was one of the owners? Like, let's be clear.
Yeah, I think I actually remember
you were going to go there,
seeing that happen. I was actually. Yeah, that was one of the options that I had.
Yeah. You didn't have out-of-network benefits.
No, I did not. Yeah, I didn't have out-of-network benefits, and I was actually looking to go into that whole like Levittown, Lower Bucks County area because that was one area where I haven't screwed anybody over in
a minute.
Yeah.
So
I never went out there.
But like, think about it, right? So this treatment center has like these massive federal charges for like patient brokering, drug testing scams, like overbilling insurance companies for like something like $4 million, like ridiculous money. Do you really think it's a coincidence that one of the owners relapsed, overdosed, and died? Like the guy, how like you're operating a business on dishonesty,
right? Oh yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, I mean, yeah, no shit.
Like I don't understand. Like I don't understand how people don't like get it. Right? It's like karma.
What do you think they aren't getting?
Karma, right?
Oh.
So like good sponsorship is really almost like it's like the karma monitor, right? So it's like, hey, I'm gonna go do this thing, and ideally, if you're it really. Honestly, Simone, it should be like good, a good sponsee, let alone good sponsorship, because good sponsorship is only directly proportionate to how honest the sponsee is going to be. But like, if you're a good sponsee, you should like take your brilliant idea and say, "Hey, I'm going to go do this thing," and then the sponsor is like, "Oh, well, that's a fucking dumb idea. Right. You probably shouldn't go do that." Mm-hmm. And then the sponsee, being a good sponsee, is like, "Okay, fine." And they don't have to be happy about it, but then ideally following through, right? Like a good sponsor is going to help a sponsee grow in understanding and effectiveness in recovery. They're going to mentor them. Mm-hmm. So we did a podcast on recovery coaches and we scratched it because I think I said some things that I didn't want to publicly say, which is rare.
Censored.
That's like really rare. But right now we have all these recovery coaches, and what recovery coaches are basically paid sponsors because people don't want to engage in 12-step recovery.
Right.
And treatment centers consistently say that 12-step recovery doesn't work, but what they're not getting is it's not that 12-step recovery doesn't work, it's that people aren't willing to engage in 12-step recovery. Fine, I get that. There's different strokes for different folks. But where the connection of recovery coaches is now the recovery coach is ideally going to walk the newcomer through early stages of recovery and beyond, help them get connected to a community, et cetera, and go from there.
You want to look at the article now?
Well, yeah, I'm curious to know what I wrote. When did I write it?
I think this was written on June 26, 2016.
2016, so almost 3 years ago.
So yeah, there's new to sober living, wondering if you have a bad sponsor, yada, yada, yada. So there's 10 potentially bad qualities of a sponsor. Number 1. We'll go to number 10 first.
No, they're not. I don't think they're in any order. Or are they?
No, I don't think
I actually have no idea.
Yeah, I don't think they are either. All right, number 1. You found your sponsor. And
I wonder if my view is still the same.
You found a sponsor. See, that's the one bad thing about doing this kind of stuff is your opinion will change and develop over the time. But like this episode will be on the internet forever.
That's okay.
Even if we take it down. All right, number 1, you found your sponsor in a 12-step group and they have no interest in taking you through the 12 steps, or they do not know how to take you through the 12 steps.
Let's talk about that.
Wait until you're feeling better. There's no rush.
Dude, we're already at 20 minutes.
Yeah, I know.
All right, everyone put your seatbelt on. We're doing it.
Yeah, we're going through. You found your sponsor at a 12-step fellowship, and they don't want to take you through the 12
the most
steps.
insane thing you can do in a 12-step fellowship is not work the 12 steps. There's a lot of people in 12-step fellowships that raise their hand for sponsorship and don't actually know how to take people through the 12 steps. Let's be clear. Narcotics Anonymous, Alcoholics Anonymous, Cocaine Anonymous, and all the others are 12-step fellowships. They are 12-step programs. The idea is to move through that process.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have a sponsor...
Yeah, that is the idea. That's
right?
that's the goal.
That's the deal. If you have a sponsor who's not willing to do that with you or doesn't know how, and a lot of the people who are not willing to do it, the truth is they don't know how to do it with the newcomer, that is a problem, and you need to get somebody else.
Right. See, on my end of the thing, I would never want to take somebody... Like, why would you want to sponsor somebody if you haven't been through? You know what I mean? Or how do you...
Ego. Well, and there are branches in AA and NA that they don't base your ability to sponsor on the fact that you've been through the 12 steps. They base it on a length of time.
Which is baffling to me to see how someone could actually stay around long enough to gain any sort of substantial amount of time away from any sort of substance and not work any of the 12 steps, you know? Because like I go back very quickly, very, very quickly. 3 weeks, 4 weeks, a month, 90 days, something like that. And then I go back out. So I can't fathom how that's possible for people.
It is.
Yeah, I know people do it. I just like, I don't get it at all.
I wouldn't recommend it either. What do we got for number 2? Let's do these in 8 minutes.
All right. Number 2, they're willing to sponsor you, but do not actually attend any 12-step groups or any self-help type recovery groups.
That's weird.
Huh?
That's weird.
It's weird that you wrote it, or it's weird that
that's
happens?
Weird in general. Every once in a while, and I talk to an absurd amount of newcomers because I do these groups on a regular basis in treatment and have worked in treatment so long. And I can't tell you how many times like I'm talking to somebody about sponsorship and they'll be like, oh, well, my uncle's going to sponsor me. And I'll say, oh, okay, or my grandmother or my uncle's cousin's friend or whatever. And like as you probe them, it turns out that the person is actually willing to sponsor them, but does not attend any 12-step meetings.
Are they in?
They maybe once were.
Right, okay.
But like the reality of it is the newcomer doesn't understand sponsorship.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously neither does the person. So.
Mm-hmm. And I remember having some groups in different treatment centers where they would talk about it, like talk about like what a sponsor is or does or anything like that. All right, number 3, the sponsor never talks about the 12 steps, but often gives you marriage and financial advice and pretends to be a therapist. One thing that I always say to whoever I'm sponsoring, and I even did it when I worked for you as a recovery support specialist. When guys would come in, if I was handling like the communication between them and their families, I would say off the bat, like, listen, I'm not a therapist. That's not the nature of this relationship. I can get you an appointment with a psychiatrist or a therapist, but that's like as far as that goes. You know, I can talk to you about 12-step fellowship, but that's I'm not a licensed professional whatsoever.
Yeah, and I think for families, like when you're looking for help, it's really important that you be really mindful of who you're talking to. And like, you know, it's why we consistently offer help to families. Like if you need something, call me, get a hold of us somehow. Mm-hmm. I'm licensed. I've got the years of education and training. You know, like I have no business. Sponsorship can be tricky because it is good to get like life advice, but you know, if the life advice is not based in the 12 steps, again, it's more of a mentor relationship than what the literature is classifying as a sponsorship relationship.
Right. Okay. Number 4, they don't just bust your chops about silly decisions you make, but they actually yell at you and often make you feel poorly about your life. I've never personally had that experience, but I could see how that could happen.
I've seen it. Yeah. I've never had it either, but I've seen it. You know, I think a little jab now and again is okay and playful. I mean, like I know Northeast folks are typically
a little more brash.
Yeah, we bust people's chops more so than like
you should have been in that car ride with me yesterday.
Oh, with Andrew. You know, and
he takes a beating.
And yeah, so I think it's important to understand, but like I've seen some aggressive things.
All right, number 5, they tell you what you want to hear.
Yeah, that's a problem.
Also a big issue.
Families. Sometimes you do that to your kids too.
That's definitely true.
Right? It's enabling.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And we see it at Surfside because a lot of our guys are, young in sobriety, and they start to sponsor other guys, and they're like afraid. They like want to be liked more than they want to be, more than they're able to say the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
Thomas Merton said, "The one thing I need more than happiness is my need for approval, yet my need for approval destroys my capacity to be happy." Mm-hmm. And the idea of that is what we're talking about here.
Right.
Where it's like, I'm unable to say, like, dude, you're being a dick.
Yeah.
You really got to knock that off.
Yeah.
Right. Because I want you to like me more so,
Yeah. No, definitely also good.
That's tough for that. Actually, like families, therapists, I've seen, like, I've as a therapist have fallen into that.
Right. Yeah. That's probably on this list. That's probably something that I try to watch out for more than anything else in the guys that I sponsor. Because it's like, you want to just like make them feel okay,
Well, and with therapists in treatment centers, they, like, Johnny's 24 and he's been at home getting high, and the therapist will run all these groups on avoiding people, places, and things, and then Johnny's like, "Oh, I'd like to go home for my aftercare," and the therapist is like, "Well, you should go to sober living," and they're like, "No, I'd like to go home," and they're like, "Okay."
Right. Yeah, and they kind of just leave it at that. Doesn't get any further.
Yeah, it's a horrible idea. And someone's got to stand up to him and be like, "You're going to kill yourself." Like,
right.
that's not even that's going home is not an aftercare plan. Never was an aftercare plan.
Yeah, it's after.
It's definitely after. It's not care. What else?
All right, number 6. The sponsor brags about you in a group setting with other 12-steppers, mocks you publicly with their friends, and they parade you around like a pet. These folks may introduce you as their sponsee and leave your name out. I see that. Definitely.
A lot.
Yeah, I definitely do see that.
Maybe not as aggressive as what I said, but it's like, right, like, "Hey, Brian, how you doing?"
"I'm good, man. What's going on?"
"You're sleeping with that girl again? What is wrong with you?" "Dude, Brian's sleeping with that girl again. What an idiot." Right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and that happens a lot.
Yeah, that's 6 and 7 on this list.
Yeah, that is a lot.
So 7 is the sponsor tells you that you have complete confidence to share your baggage. You later find out that they've been telling their wife, husband, or friend everything about your life.
There's a couple couples around here that tend to do that. My wife doesn't even know the guys I sponsor until one day they like show up at the house.
Right. Yeah, I remember you telling me that.
Yeah, it's none of her business.
Mm-hmm.
And and early on, I learned, like, when I answer the phone, if somebody's calling me, regardless of whether it's a sponsee or somebody, like, if somebody calls, like, I don't say hey and their name unless I'm alone.
Right.
Because
I answer the phone, I go, "Yo."
People are astute enough. People are astute enough to understand, like, what's going on in that conversation, and there's got to be, like, some confidential.
Yeah, some sort of level of confidentiality.
And obviously, if someone's going to, like, hurt themselves or hurt somebody else, you should probably say something.
Right.
But because they're just being stupid. Saying. Yeah.
8. They make you help them move, mow the grass, fold the laundry, or complete other chores and tell you it's 12-step work.
There's a group in North Jersey called the Sponsorship Group. You know who you are. And that shit happens.
Really?
Yeah.
Just iced them out there on the internet.
Oh, yeah, dude. There was a gentleman, I will keep his name quiet. I mean, he's been, like, banned from, like, multiple, like, hospitals and rehabs in the area. Like,
really?
For some of the shit he's told people to do and said. And, they would, like, make everybody get tattoos. It would be a circle and then, like, a triangle, and in the triangle it would say SG.
What?
Real deal. Chatham.
Might have to go check it out one day.
Go for it.
All right, number 9. They consistently show up late.
Tell them you're new and you're good at cutting the lawn.
Little known fact.
It's abuse. It's abuse. Yeah, is what it is.
Yeah, it's like indentured servitude.
Oh, come over and chop my wood. Like, and moving, dude, people in 12-step recovery, y'all get roped into moving people way too often.
That's one thing I don't help people out with.
And the worst thing is, like, when you show up to, like, help someone move and they haven't even packed yet. Like, look, public service announcement, 12-step recovery or not, if you're ever going to move and you were going to ask people to come help you, have the common courtesy of having your shit packed first.
Right.
Put it in boxes so when the people show up to like move your stuff, all they have to do is pick it up and put it somewhere else.
Moving sucks, man.
I could write a whole 4-step on that.
On moving?
Showing up to move people.
Yeah, it's not fun. Not fun at all. Okay, where were we at? They consistently show up late or blow you off. Did I say that already?
Maybe. I wasn't listening.
Yeah, they consistently show up late or blow you off. I've had that happen before. And that goes on the other end too,
Sure.
as a sponsee. And number 10, they never call you back.
I think that one's really important. Like, and a lot of the guys that I sponsor know that I'm not big on like getting together weekly and like hanging out. I've got a very busy life. I have a wife. I go to the gym. You know, I've got things to do. And so like, and I'm 37. Like when I was in my 20s, like, yeah, I would like hang out with sponsees, but I'm at a different point in my life.
Right.
However, like calling somebody back or even like acknowledging that they called I think is super, super important.
Right.
Super, super important.
Yeah, I would agree with that. You know, my sponsees know the work schedule that I have, and then that I have like other obligations that I do too. But you know, what I start to do too is, you know, if I'm working with a guy and then they're calling me consistently, you know, and it's going well, I'll start calling them.
Sure.
And you know, it goes both ways.
Measure their willingness.
Yeah. So I mean, but you know, if you're gonna keep, like, I got one kid who calls me every day, and then if I don't hear from him by like 4 or 5 o'clock, I call him, we chop it up, and then, you know, meet up when he wants to meet up, you know, so.
Yeah. And I think with the calling, I was going to say something. I thought it was important.
Must have not been that important. Yeah. So that was the article. It's on our website, Surfside, or it's on structuredsoberliving.com.
Or you can go right to soberNJ.com.
Yeah. And that's where all of our blogs are hosted on that site. Any other final thoughts on sponsorship, how to find one, what you should do?
To find one, go to a meeting, start talking to people that sound like they know what they're talking about. If they're talking about the same shit you're talking about, I would not ask them to sponsor you.
Right. What about any sort of time requirement or anything like that?
I mean, I think that the requirement should be that they've been through the 12 steps. I also think that, like, if you've been through the steps and you've been sober for a period of time and you're feeling really stagnant, I think it's time you probably get a new sponsor as well. And again, that's going to be like
that you look for a new sponsor.
Yeah, and it's going to be really hard to engage that. I feel like I'm having deja vu. It's going to be really hard to engage that person. It's going to be a really difficult relationship to foster because with like a period sober, you kind of know what you want. So you may have to like try on a bunch of different shoes, right, before you find a pair that are comfortable.
Yeah, I had that after my first sponsor that I had, that I got through the 12 steps with the first time. It took me a couple tries.
Yeah. I've had, I think over the years, like 14 different sponsors.
Right.
The one I've had now, I've had for quite a while.
Couple years.
Wow, 4, 5, maybe 5 years now.
How long have you lived in Jersey? Down here?
I think since I was 8 years sober. I think 6 years.
Oh yeah, okay. I didn't know it was that long.
So, you know, long distance sponsorship is a thing. It's really difficult unless you're really, as the sponsee, like motivated to be a part of that relationship. So yeah. Yeah.
So that's our stuff on sponsorship. We have a really cool 5K coming up in West Milford, New Jersey. It's called Scott's Drop 5K. You can find it on Facebook. You can sign up. You can volunteer. If you're a local business owner, we have sponsorship packages available.
If you're not a local business owner, you can still sponsor.
There you go.
The money goes towards our scholarship fund. If you or somebody you know need help with treatment, if you're a family member and you just need like some advice or something, please get a hold of us at structuredsoberliving.com, or our phone number is 609-709-4205.
It's the first time you gave the phone number out.
Well, it's on everything. You can't text it though. So.
We also have Facebook, Twitter page, Instagram, and all those sort of things. So thanks again for listening, and do us a favor and share this video if you like it.
Please. Thank you.
Peace.